Hey, welcome to a new video. While it's true that everyone is unique in their own way, some people in the world are just more unique than others. In some cases, the features are very incredible. So incredible, in fact, that less than 1% of the world's population has it. Are you new to this channel? Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And before we start, also like the video. If anatomy was your favorite subject in school, you probably remember that every adult human has 206 bones, 24 of which are ribs, with 12 on each side. But did you know that some people have an extra 13th rib? This is pretty rare, and less than 1% of people have it. The 13th rib is called a lumbar rib, and looks like an extra rib on the person's body. However, there's another type of extra rib that about 1 in 200 people have. This is called the cervical rib. Most people don't even know they have it. It grows at the base of the neck, just above the collarbone. And the reason people don't know they have it is because it's hard to see on x-rays. But don't worry, it doesn't hurt. A Somean Line is a rare physical trait that has fascinated doctors and researchers for many years. It's a condition where a single crease runs across the entire palm instead of the two separate creases that are typically present. It's estimated that less than 5% of the general population have this condition. Interestingly though, it occurs more frequently in men than in women, with males 3 times as likely to have it. Although the condition itself is not harmful, it's associated with certain genetic disorders such as Down syndrome. It also often appears in individuals with specific chromosomal abnormalities, like Turner syndrome and Klinefelter syndrome. Despite Somean lines being relatively rare, many famous people throughout history have been known to have them, including Mark Wahlberg, Tony Robbins, Charlie Chaplin, and Albert Einstein. Interestingly, some studies have suggested that people with the Somean line may have certain advantages, particularly in areas of memory and artistic ability. You've probably seen people with a small hole near their ear. You may even have one. This little hole is called PreArular Fistula. It's a hole related to a misplaced sinus tract and is considered a birth defect. According to researchers, the hole appears when the ear is still developing during the 6th week of pregnancy. The first recorded case was in 1864. Some people have this in both ears, but it's more common to see it in only one ear. Usually they're harmless, but in rare cases, they can become irritated and cause infections. These infections cause pain, swelling, and pus may even form. In more serious cases, a cyst may also grow. In this case, you need to make sure you get it treated, otherwise the situation could get much worse. The world of anime probably drove people crazy with wearing elf ears, and it became a trend in some countries. But did you know that some people are born with elf ears? The elf ear syndrome is also called Stahl's ear, and it's considered an ear abnormality. As you might guess from the name, the abnormality in the ear results in it being pointed on the outside and looking exactly like a real elf's ear. Fortunately, it doesn't cause any inconvenience, nor does it affect the person's ability to hear properly. People who are born with this usually do nothing about their uniqueness, but there are those who decided to undergo surgery because they did not like the shape of their ears. Do you know someone who writes with both hands or performs tasks easily with either hand? That person may be ambidextrous. Ambidexterity refers to the ability to use both hands with equal skill. While this trait is relatively rare, it has fascinated scientists for many years. According to a recent study, only about 1% of the population is truly ambidextrous. However, many people are mixed-handed or exhibit some degree of this condition. For some ambidextrous individuals, this skill can be a real advantage. Ambidextrous individuals are often highly adaptable and capable of performing tasks that might be challenging for others. They may also excel in activities requiring dexterity, such as music or sports. One of the most interesting facts about ambidextrous people is how their brains function. Scientists have found that ambidextrous individuals often have a greater connection between the two hemispheres of the brain, which may contribute to their ability to effectively use both hands. There are also some fascinating stories from history and pop culture about ambidextrous individuals. For instance, Leonardo da Vinci is said to have been ambidextrous and used both hands to paint and draw. Other notable ambidextrous figures include Babe Ruth, Albert Einstein, and Michelangelo. Matthias Schleidt from Germany is also called the real Hellboy because his right arm is significantly longer than his left arm. To be exact, 33% larger. He was also born with a rare genetic defect, but Matthias has learned to use his physical abnormalities to his advantage. Today, he's a professional arm wrestler who has participated in 8 national championships and 14 international competitions. He started arm wrestling in 2004 after his mother saw a flyer inviting male arm wrestlers and convinced him to join. Matthias did so, and to his surprise, he beat all the men in the competition. But even when he was only 3 years old, he already knew that his arm had great powers, as he often picked up large buckets full of coal for their oven. Today, Matthias enjoys his career in arm wrestling, and he was even able to beat an arm wrestling robot. Are you familiar with those pesky wisdom teeth, often the subject of countless YouTube videos featuring people filmed post-anesthesia? You may be surprised to learn that some individuals never develop wisdom teeth at all. The absence of wisdom teeth is a genetic trait passed down from our ancestors who might have had smaller jaws and less need for additional teeth. Some experts believe that the lack of wisdom teeth can be an evolutionary adaptation, as modern humans have developed smaller jaws better suited to our softer diet. According to some estimates, up to 35% of people without wisdom teeth inherit this trait from their parents. However, it's not all genetic luck. Individuals without wisdom teeth can still experience symptoms associated with the growth and development of these teeth, such as pain, swelling, and infection. While the absence of wisdom teeth may seem like a minor detail in the grand scheme of biology, it's an intriguing genetic variation that has fascinated researchers for many years. Besides the genetic aspect, there's also interesting cultural and historical aspects of wisdom teeth. Some historians believe that the development of wisdom teeth played a role in the evolution of some early humans and contributed to the development of our unique speech capabilities. Most adult people in the world have 32 teeth. However, there's a story about a boy who has not just a few extra teeth, but 300 extra teeth. And yup, I'm not kidding. This is John Chris Carl Carante, a 9-year-old boy from the Philippines with a rare condition called hyperdontia, which means having many more teeth. It involves teeth that can appear in any place and affect any tooth organ. When the world heard about the boy, he was offered to undergo several surgeries, and he has already had about 40 teeth pulled. As you may understand, the boy has to undergo a few more surgeries in the future, but he's positive about it, and he's just living a normal life and even going to school. Peeling skin syndrome is a rare and fascinating condition that affects the outermost layer of the skin. It's a genetic disorder that causes the skin to blister and peel off, revealing the tender raw skin underneath. A genetic mutation is responsible for the condition and affects the proteins that holds the skin layers together. While the exact prevalence of this condition is unknown, it's believed to be extremely rare, with only a handful of cases being documented worldwide. Peeling skin syndrome can be broadly divided into 2 main types: localized and generalized. In localized peeling skin syndrome, the peeling of the skin is observed only by specific parts of the body, such as hands and feet. In contrast, generalized peeling skin syndrome affects larger parts of the body, including the torso and face. Fimbriated fold of tongue, also called plica fimbriata, are small strings in the underside of the tongue. Only a few people have these. They are triangular mucosal flaps under the tongue that are less than half an inch or a centimeter long. As you can see, these also look like little horns. They often appear in pairs and would come in sets of 4 or even more. They're located on each side of the frenulum, the tissue that connects the bottom of the tongue to the inside of the mouth. The frenulum helps stabilize the movements of the tongue, such as when talking, speaking, or swallowing. The existence of these strings on each side has not been shown to affect these processes. In people who have long strings, they can sometimes get stuck between their teeth. This can cause soreness that leads to infections, but generally they are not related to any medical condition. Stoneman Syndrome, also known as FOP, is a medical condition that turns soft tissues into bone over time. The condition affects approximately 1 in 2 million people worldwide and can lead to severe health complications. Essentially, FOP causes the body's healing process to go awry, leading to the formation of bone where it shouldn't be, often in muscles, tendons, and ligaments. This can severely limit a person's mobility and overall quality of life, as they may become essentially frozen in place. On the opposite end of the spectrum, some individuals suffer from what's known as osteogenesis imperfecta, OI, or brittle bone disease. Those with OI have bones that are so fragile they break easily, often from minor falls or even no apparent cause. OI affects approximately 1 in 20,000 people worldwide. It's kind common knowledge that you can't tickle yourself, because that's how the brain works. You're already expecting a tickle, so your brain won't react to it the way you would if someone else tickled you. So the answer is in your brain. However, there's a few people in the world who can tickle themselves. It's very common in people with schizophrenia. According to various studies, it's believed that the neurological changes that have occurred in the brains of people suffering from this disorder allow them to distinguish self-initiated actions, meaning that they don't realize that they're tickling themselves. By the way, can you stand being tickled? Let me know in the comments. Imagine being able to stretch your skin like a rubber band. This might seem like something out of a comic book, but it's a reality for several hundred people worldwide. The skin of individuals with HSN/HESN is described as rubbery, stretchable, and hypermobile. This is due to a genetic mutation that affects the production of collagen, the protein that gives skin elasticity, making the skin particularly susceptible to tears, bruises, and scarring. Women are more likely to have hyperelastic skin than men, and it's so rare that there's been fewer than 300 cases reported worldwide. However, there's a silver lining. Scientists have studied the properties to develop more flexible and durable materials for use in prosthetics and other medical devices. One of the most notable cases of this condition was that of the Elastic Man, a performer who could bend his arms and legs in ways that seemed physically impossible. Not even 1%, but less than 1% of people in the world have Dextrocardia. Dextrocardia is a rare condition in which a person is born with a heart that points to the right side of the chest instead of its normal placement, which is on the left. Fortunately, people with this condition are often healthy, but sometimes dextrocardia can be accompanied by complications, especially when not only the heart but also several other vital organs, such as the liver, are pointing in the wrong direction. In dextrocardia, the cilia in the lungs are also thought to malfunction. This causes breathing difficulties and more complicated conditions, such as lung infections and pneumonia. Researchers have not yet figured out the exact cause of this condition, only that it happens during fetal development. It could be treated with surgery and pacemakers, but it can still cause serious health problems even afterward. Double eyelashes might be a dream come true for those desiring longer, fuller lashes, but for those with a genetic condition known as distichiasis, it's a mixed blessing. This genetic condition affects approximately 1 in 10,000 people, causing them to grow an extra row of eyelashes along the inner edge of their eyelids. Although people with this condition may be known for their unique lashes, it can sometimes be uncomfortable and even painful. The extra lashes can scrape over the cornea, leading to redness, dry eyes, and in severe cases, loss of vision. People with distichiasis also often complain about sensitivity to light and discomfort when wearing contact lenses. Elizabeth Taylor, the iconic Hollywood actress from the 1950s and 60s, is thought to have possibly had the condition, which contributed to her famed beauty. Some individuals with this condition could even have more than 2 rows of eyelashes. The famous Byzantine Empress Theodora is also thought to have had this, contributing to the perception of extra eyelashes as a symbol of beauty and antiquity. By the ability to write on the skin, I don't mean tattooing. I'm talking about a real condition where you lightly scratch your skin and then get red scratches that look like hives. It's very rare and can occur at any age. The raised scratches normally disappear within 30 minutes, but it's certainly not very comfortable for the person with the condition. It's hard to believe, but scientists still don't know how this can be caused. However, it's thought that this condition, called dermatography, can be caused by penicillin, various infections, or even emotional problems. Most people who have this don't even seek help from the doctor. However, if they do decide to do so, all the doctor can recommend is that you take some allergy medications. Imagine not being able to recognize your own family members or best friends. It sounds like an unthinkable situation, but for people with face blindness or prosopagnosia, this is their reality. This condition is a neurological disorder affecting approximately 2% of the population. People with this condition struggle to recognize and remember faces, even those of their closest friends and family members. They make do in social situations by using notable clothing or hairstyles to recognize people. These individuals rely on other cues like voice or attire to identify people. Prosopagnosia can be caused by brain injury, strokes, or developmental differences in the brain. It can also be hereditary, and most struggle with recognizing objects or navigating their environment. However, this condition doesn't affect sight or memory, and has no relation to a person's intelligence. In fact, some people with this condition have reported having an excellent memory for non-facial info. Some notable individuals who have experienced this condition include actor Brad Pitt and neurologist Oliver Stacks. Like Jacob Pina, Cory Bennett became known through TikTok because of his rare condition. Cory, who is from Indiana, has cladocranial dysplasia. It's a rare genetic disorder that affects the teeth and bones, making them more fragile. People with cladocranial dysplasia also have some missing bones. For Cory, that's his collarbone. Because of this, he was often bullied for being small, having bad teeth, and a big head. But Cory found a way to raise awareness about his condition through TikTok. In his first video to attract attention, he did shoulder slaps. Now, several of his videos have been viewed over 1 million times, and many have praised and thanked him for bringing attention to the condition. Although he has to deal with people who don't always leave nice comments on his videos, Cory doesn't think there's anything to be done about it. So he also decided to just continue making videos. Mirror hand syndrome, also known as Onardemilla, is an extraordinary medical condition that has baffled researchers worldwide. This rare syndrome exhibits a fascinating deviation in the structure and appearance of a person's hand. In cases of mirror hand, the hands display an enchanting mirror image, where each hand is a perfect reflection of the other. It's an incredibly rare phenomenon observed in only a small number of people globally. The complexity, origin, and underlying causes, however, remain the subject of ongoing scientific research. A prevailing theory is that mirror hand is the result of a genetic mutation occurring during embryonic development. It's thought that during the critical stages of hand formation, a modification in the delicate genetic blueprint leads to the symmetrical duplication of the hands. Living with mirror hand entails both unique challenges and remarkable experiences for those affected. Nali Kriya is a special technique in yoga where you do abdominal movements by rolling the abdominal muscles. Not everyone can do this because it's an advanced technique. It's believed that this exercise can help you cleanse the internal organs and digestive organs and strengthen the abdominal muscle. So Nali Kriya is taken very seriously and can only be practiced by the help of an experienced teacher. Therefore, only a small number of people can do it. The exercise is like this. It's very important to have an empty stomach, and then you just stand. Or you can start with a lotus position, and your upper body bent forward with the hands on your hips. You breathe out first, then you pull your belly in and try to move them in a waving-like rolling motion. Gray eyes are the holy grail of eye colors, with only a small percentage of the population possessing this eye color. Unlike other eye colors that are determined by the amount of pigmentation in the iris, gray eyes are caused by the way light scatters within the iris. People with gray eyes have the same amount of melanin as those with blue eyes, but the distribution of the melanin is different. This is what gives the eyes their unique gray appearance. It's estimated that about 3% of the population has gray eyes. Gray eyes also seem to change color depending on the lighting conditions, which makes them even more intriguing. Many famous historical figures, such as Queen Elizabeth and Napoleon, are said to have had gray eyes. Gray eyes are believed to be the result of mixing between different ethnic groups over time. They were first seen in the Middle East and then spread throughout Europe and Asia. In some cases, gray eyes are even considered a sign of wisdom and knowledge. In certain communities, they're also viewed as a sign of paranormal intuition. The Greeks and Romans, for example, believed that individuals with gray eyes were descendants of gods. You've probably seen pictures of people with different colored irises on social media. You might think that they're photoshopped, but this condition really exists, and it's called heterochromia. Sometimes the iris of the left eye is black, and that of the other is brown. Sometimes the iris can be the same color but different shades, and rarely when one is green and the other is blue. Heterochromia is also used to indicate color differences in skin and hair. When one iris is completely different in color from the other, it's called complete heterochromia. If one iris has different colors in different parts, it's called segmental heterochromia. However, if the different color is in the outer ring of the iris, it's called central heterochromia. People who have this condition are advised to visit an ophthalmologist to see if it's associated with a medical condition. Imagine having two sets of DNA in your body, effectively making you your own twin. Chimerism occurs when two embryos fuse together during early development. Instead of developing separately, the two embryos combine into one individual with two sets of DNA. This can result in unique physical characteristics and medical conditions. Taylor Moll, a singer and model, was diagnosed with chimerism in her early 20s. She has a distinct line down the middle of her torso, with one side of her body slightly differing in color and texture from the other. She also has a rare autoimmune disease, thought to be connected to this phenomenon. People with chimerism can express it in other ways. Some, for example, have different eye colors in each eye. This is because the two sets of DNA can influence pigmentation differently, giving one eye a different color than the other. However, chimerism is not exclusive to humans and can also be found in animals. Some animals, like cats and mice, may have fur patterns indicating the presence of two different sets of DNA, known as a mosaic pattern. They say that our fingerprints are quite unique, and there's no other person in the world with the same fingerprints. But what about people who have no fingerprints at all? Apu is a man from Bangladesh, and if you look at his hands at first glance, there's nothing unusual to see. But he apparently has no fingerprints, and you can see it a little by the smooth surfaces on his fingertips. However, Apu is not the only person in the world without fingertips. His father and grandfather don't have them either. Genetics assumes that Apu's family has a very rare genetic mutation that affects only his family and no one else in the world. It's probably very difficult to live without fingerprints in our modern world, because you literally need them everywhere, from collecting various documents to using your iPhone. But at least if he wants to steal something from the store, the police weren't able to catch him from his fingerprints. That, on the other hand, is convenient, but let's hope that at least Apu won't be too bothered by it. If you've ever experienced sudden changes in skin color or sensitivity to cold, you might have Raynaud's syndrome. It's named after Maurice Raynaud, a French doctor who first described the disease in his thesis in 1862. Raynaud's syndrome is a condition where the smaller arteries that transport blood to the skin constrict. This narrowing restricts blood flow to the affected areas, typically the fingers and toes. Symptoms can range from mild to severe and can be triggered by cold temperatures or emotional stress. Raynaud's syndrome is more common in women and in people living in colder climates. It's estimated that up to 10% of the population might suffer from the syndrome in some form. Although the exact cause is unknown, researchers suggest it might be related to overactivity of nerve impulses or changes in the blood vessels. Raynaud's syndrome can also affect other parts of the body, such as the nose and ears. Believe it or not, although there's no cure, self-cure measures like quitting smoking and avoiding triggers can help manage the symptoms. Jacob Pina became famous on TikTok after he showed off his incredibly long thumb. It seemed that many viewers could not believe that his thumb was real, but his videos have since gotten over 5 million views. Jacob's thumb is normally about 2 inches or 5 centimeters long, but he can de-socket and dislocate it and lengthen it to 5.5 inches or 14 centimeters. According to his doctor, this is abnormal, but fortunately it has not caused him any medical problems. Although the cracking sound feels painful, Jacob says he doesn't feel any pain at all. When Jacob was growing up, his mother already noticed that Jacob's thumb was abnormally long, but she didn't really worry about it. She even joked that Jacob got it from playing too many video games. Now we're diving into the world of genetics to explore the DEC2 gene. If you've ever wondered why some people can function with just a few hours of sleep, it might be due to this genetic mutation. This genetic mutation influences the amount of sleep a person requires at night. While the average person needs about 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night, those with the DEC2 gene can admirably function normally with just 4 to 6 hours of sleep. Researchers have found that people with this mutation don't exhibit negative effects from fewer sleep hours and actually wake up feeling refreshed and energetic. They may also have a higher metabolism and be less prone to weight gain compared to those who require more sleep. According to recent studies, it's estimated that about 1% of the population may have a form of the DEC2 gene. Interestingly, researchers have found that the prevalence of the DCE2 gene can vary depending on the geographic location and the population. For instance, some studies have suggested it's more common in areas with extreme daylight variations, such as in the Antarctic regions. Pain is a signaling system that warns us of many dangerous things we shouldn't do, like don't touch heat or be careful with a knife. And of course, if people didn't feel pain, the mortality rate would be a lot higher. But can you imagine living without feeling pain? Probably not. But there is a woman named Jo Cameron who has this condition. She can tell you how it feels to live in a world without pain. There are said to be only 2 people in the world who have this rare genetic mutation, and Jo is one of them. The woman explained that she often burns her arms on the oven, but she just has to be super alert at all times. In addition, she never feels anxious or scared because the very rare mutation in her DNA ensures that she never feels pain. Few conditions evoke as much controversy regarding how people view them positively or negatively, like webbed toes or fingers. You probably associate webbed toes or fingers with superpowers you see in movies. But in real life, webbed toes and fingers, also known as synodactyly, fall into a condition where two or more fingers or toes are fused together by skin or bone. It's a congenital condition, meaning it's present at birth, and it can occur in both humans and animals. However, this condition is rare, with only about 1 in 3,000 live births having it. The degree of fusion can vary greatly, from partial syndactyly, where only the skin is fused, to complete syndactyly, where the bones are fused together. In certain parts of the world, like the culture in Africa, there are beliefs that webbed toes and fingers are associated with spirituality or witchcraft. There's a general belief, however, that people with webbed toes and fingers are better swimmers, due to the extra surface they can use to navigate through the water. While webbed toes and fingers can provide some extra propulsion when swimming, excessive fusion or the inability to fully extend the fingers or toes can actually cause resistance in the water. Notable people with webbed toes and fingers include actor Ashton Kutcher and musician Seal. If you have the strange ability to squirt saliva from under your tongue, you are one of the rarest people in the world. This gift is called Gleeking. It happens when the saliva that is accumulated in the submandibular gland is compressed by your tongue and pushed out through the Warden's canal. For some people, it comes unexpectedly, such as when they're talking, eating, yawning, or even just brushing their teeth. But you'd be surprised to learn that there's actually a contest for Gleekers. Although it's not as official as the Guinness World Records, a man named Colin Blades from the town of Kent in England holds the record for the furthest Gleek distance at 57 inches or 145 centimeters. According to a professor at the University of London, Gleekers must have accumulated a larger than normal amount of saliva in their salivary ducts to do this. A human tail, also known as a vestigial tail, is a rare congenital abnormality found in humans and other mammals. Vestigial tails are small, often benign protrusions, typically found in newborns near their lower back. They are named so as they are considered remnants of a tail that developed in our evolutionary ancestors, but lost its functionality over time. While the presence of a tail in humans may seem unusual today, it's actually a common feature among other mammals. Most mammals, including primates, have tails that are used to aid balance, communication, and mobility. However, in humans, the tail structure evolved around 25 million years ago in our evolutionary ancestors, but over time, it's shrunk in size. Scientists believe the human tail disappeared due to natural selection pressure, favoring bipedalism or walking upright on two legs. As humans began to walk on 2 feet, our pelvic structure changed, making it less suitable for tail support. As a result, the muscles and bones associated with the tail lost their function, and it eventually disappeared in most people. It seems that almost every girl in the world complains that her hair is uncombable. But there's some people in the world who really have the right to complain, because they have a so-called uncombable hair syndrome. Have you ever heard of this? In short, it's a condition where the hair can't be combed straight at all. Basically, the hair remains dry and frizzy all the time. The condition usually develops at the age of 2 or 3, but there was a few cases where it appeared around the age of 12. Children suffering from the uncombable hair syndrome usually have blonde or even silver hair, and the hair grows in a different way. Not downwards, but in multiple directions. The most interesting thing is that the hair is not fragile at all, while it grows like normal hair, just a little slower. And yes, there's only about 100 documented cases in the world of people who have this. While most people are born with a belly button, there are some unique cases in which individuals have a protruding belly button or no belly button at all. Belly buttons are formed during fetal development, when the umbilical cord connects the developing fetus to the placenta. In some cultures, like Hinduism, the belly button is considered a sacred area and is viewed as the source of life and creativity. A protruding belly button is less common than an inwardly formed belly button and occurs when there is excess scar tissue on the belly button. This can be a result of umbilical hernias or other conditions that affect the abdominal muscles. But don't worry if you have a protruding belly button, as it usually doesn't cause health problems. On the other hand, some people are born without a belly button. This can happen in various ways, such as due to a deformity of the umbilical cord. A noteworthy fact is that there's a man from Turkey with the world's deepest belly button, which is a staggering 3.8 centimeters deep. This unusual feature has even earned a mention in the Guinness World Records. Only 1 in 700 to 1,000 babies is born with an extra finger. This condition is called polydactyly, and it can sometimes occur in toes. It comes from the Greek words poly and dactylos, which mean many and fingers. respectively. It can sometimes appear as a boneless, soft tissue, sometimes with bones but no joints, or it can be a fully functional finger or toe. The most common form is that the extra finger is outside the little finger, but it could also be on the outside of the thumb. This is probably the rarest type. There's also a type where the finger enters the ring, middle, or index fingers. Polydactyly can also run in the family. However, it's not something to worry about because polydactyly is usually harmless. Macrodactyly is a rare condition that causes an abnormally large size of one or more fingers or toes. Only 1 in 100,000 people have this. Here's one of the strangest aspects about it. It can occur in one or both hands or feet. The overgrowth typically affects both the underlying bone and the soft tissue, which can lead to functional problems or abnormal weight bearing. It can be present at birth or develop later in childhood. The overgrowth associated with macrodactyly can make fingers or toes appear significantly larger, sometimes leading to deformities or abnormal shapes. In this video, for example, we see a person who has an extremely long middle finger. In some cases, the affected fingers or toes may feel warmer to the touch than the surrounding areas. Surgical intervention is often necessary to address the functional problems associated with macrodactyly. Unfortunately, there is no known cure for this rare condition. Do you happen to know someone who has this? The combination of red hair and blue eyes are quite rare according to various statistics. Only 17% of people in the world are said to have blue eyes, and only 1 to 2% of people have red hair. So if you combine these two features, you'll find that there are only 0.17%, about 13 million people with this combination. 13 million may seem like a lot, but in contrast to the 7.7 billion people on Earth, it's not a lot. But what is the reason why red-headed people with blue eyes are characterized as rare? It has to do with DNA, and this appearance is the result of 2 different sets of DNA instructions. To have blue eyes and red hair, the person must inherit both genes from both parents. Do you have this combination? Let me know in the comments. It's possible to observe moving veins in your body under certain circumstances. The reasons why veins seem to move when we wiggle our fingers is that the veins are large, close to the skin's surface, and rest on the metacarpal bone. When the metacarpal bone shifts as we move our fingers, the vein also moves, making it appear as if it's moving. Veins are an essential part of the circulatory system and are responsible for transporting blood from the body tissues back to the heart. This explains why it's unsettling to know that they are not always as stable as they should be. The person in this video appears to have veins that move more than the average person. Do you happen to have this too? Let me know in the comments. Over the years, scientists have only experienced about 40 cases of people who have golden blood. It's called golden blood not because it's golden in color, but because it's so rare that it's very valuable. Our blood contains about 342 antigens, and it is the presence or absence of these antigens that makes our blood type different. These 342 antigens belong to 35 blood type systems. One of these systems is the Rh system, which contains 61 antigens, and is the system that people with the golden blood type lack. The golden blood was first discovered in 1961 in an Australian woman who belonged to a tribe. There are other rare blood types in the world, but this one is the rarest. So if you happen to have golden blood, it could be very difficult if you ever need a blood transfusion. Super tasters are individuals who are more sensitive to flavors and aromas than the average person. These individuals have more taste buds on their tongue than others, enabling them to discern subtle differences in flavors that others can't notice. Super tasters are also more sensitive to certain flavors, such as bitter or spicy, and might find them more intense or unpleasant than others. Research has shown that the ability to taste is largely determined by genetics. While some people naturally have more taste buds than others, other factors such as age, smoking, and certain medications can also affect taste sensitivity. Generally, women and individuals of Asian or African descent have a higher likelihood of being super tasters than men and individuals of European descent. Although super tasters may have an elevated taste experience, they might also be more sensitive to certain flavors that others might find enjoyable. For example, super tasters may find bitter flavors, such as those in broccoli or Brussels sprouts, as dominant and unpleasant. When you hear about werewolf syndrome, unfortunately, we're not talking about superpowers. Also known as hypertrichosis, the werewolf syndrome is a rare condition characterized by excessive hair growth on the face and body. Although it can be hereditary, it can also occur spontaneously or in small patches. It's estimated that only about 50 cases have been reported worldwide, making it extremely rare. People with this condition can have hair growth that is thick and dense, covering most of their body, including their face, ears, and limbs. In some instances, their hair may be curly or differently colored than the hair on their head, making it even more noticeable. Oddly enough, hypertrichosis can be congenital and acquired later in life. There have been various individuals throughout history claimed to have werewolf syndrome, including the famous Mexican performer Jesus Chuy Axives. This man was known for his incredible hairiness, and performed in circuses as the Wolfman in the early 1900s. What's your unique feature? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos we've made, click one on the screen or take a look at the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.